So, welcome everyone. This is the video I promised I will do, which will mainly talk about all the experiences I had with gear and how to start as a beginner, because I'm sure you have hundreds of questions and ideas, and there's tons of gear outside, tons of options that you can get. And yeah, to be frank, it's absolutely not an easy path to walk, and this is something I would like to alleviate with this video. There is one important part I would like to mention and convey to you, one important message, which is why I did this video actually is I think these days many people have something called a gear acquisition syndrome. And I think that's a real huge problem, especially for beginners. And I will tell you why in a nutshell, and I can also relate to it by myself. So the issue with this is that these days, like, there are so many options, so many places to research, and there's a lot of marketing around us, a lot of influence from YouTubers, from friends. So the internet is all over, full with all these options, and which like promise you great improvements and everything. And I think there are a lot of great products out there, so don't get me wrong. But I think, and again, this video is more for beginners. I think as a beginner, you don't need something like that. You don't need something crazy. You don't need something super high level, super something complex. You don't need it. You need something simple. You need something that works instantly and something that you can rely on. Like when I started out, one of my friends with the best intention, they recommended me to, because like what's the regular option, right? Just getting an amplifier. That's what people usually do. And again, I'm not saying it's a bad idea or something, but I will share what I did and what worked for me. Just maybe it works for you too. So yeah, an amplifier never really worked out for me. A lot of reasons for that. I don't like most of the amplifiers are found in the lower category. I didn't really like the sound of it, but that's a personal something. I just wasn't so fond of it. And then what's the other possibility apart from those like solid state amps? There is of course tube. Everyone talks about that, right? You need a tube amp, and it sounds great. But just there's one little thing. It sounds great at like higher volumes for sure, but as soon as you're lowering the volume to a bedroom level where most people will start out and where most people will practice, it sounds like nothing, or it's not silent enough. Some like there's a PV1, a PV class 620 or something like that, and that one has attenuation, and from 20 watts you can, I think, do one or maybe even lower, but even that was so loud that it's just not something that works out. Of course there's a headphone path, but still. And then it's big, then it's heavy, the same with amps. Of course, there's one amp I can recommend, and everyone's recommending it, but I think overall it just also provides a lot of possibilities, which is the Boss Katana. Everyone knows that. I don't know. I haven't used it. I tried it out. Again, not my thing, but that's just me. So, like, where I left, one of my friends actually recommended me to go the software path, which is very good because it can be very cheap and can sound very decent. And actually, I'm still like promoting it. I think that's a very good idea these days to go the software path. Many of us has like headphones at home and speakers, so that should not be an issue at all. And yeah, and the thing is that if you're low in budget, like really, really low, I think that's the path I would recommend for you too. Getting some software like Neural DSP or there's tons around. I'm sure you can, like, it's worth a research. If you're interested, just hit me up. I can talk more about this, but that's not necessarily the reason of this video. But the thing is, I had one huge issue with that. Something that like really annoyed me with all those softwares, and it's the lack of physical control. And to me personally, that's something that that's not working out too well. And I was struggling. First of all, you have to start the computer. That's always a bit, it takes time, right? And you don't want to waste time with that. Not because it's that much time. It's just, for me, it's an additional layer of something. Why I would say, all right, let's not practice today, because like it's not easy, right? You not just like press it and it's going, and like it's working out. It, like computer can also be a lot of distraction. So I'm not saying it's a bad option. All I'm saying is, for me, not having a hardware which I can set, not having something physical, I don't really like that. I'm sure like there are hundreds and thousands of people outside who are actually absolutely fine with that. So I'm not saying that like there's any issue with it. What I'm saying is, for me, and if you're anything like me, I just need those knobs and switches and controls and volume change and everything. And I need something that I can just flip a switch and it works. And I can bring it to the living room, I can bring it to the bedroom, I can bring it to my friend's place, anywhere. So yeah, I was searching for something like that because I like the software version. I really did, but just somehow it wasn't perfect. And then I got into this syndrome too a bit, like trying out things, purchasing things. I was never too satisfied with anything until I got to two main areas, like amp modelers and amp profilers. And the difference between them, if you don't know, and I have an example for both. And I want to tell you that I'm not sponsored by any of these companies, so if you need any more in-depth videos of them, let me know. I'm just like briefly telling you about them, but no one is sponsoring me right now, so I'm just doing this to share my experience with you, because I really spent hours and hours and days and weeks to find something that works for me. So yeah, there are two types, amp modelers and amp profilers. Profiler, there's a very famous one, the Camper. I mean, you may know it. It's very expensive, but it just got cheaper in a sense because there's a lot of options again. But one thing I know is this one here, like the Tonx Pedal, and yeah, that was the first thing I tried out. You may ask what's the difference between them. An amp modeler, by the way, is something that models an amp. It kind of sounds easy, right? But the main idea of it is there are like some predefined settings and models to simulate like amps, and it works like an amp, right? You select the amp, you select all the other details. You can actually select cabs, and it, of course, depending on the model, and you can just like set everything, right? The EQ, all the settings that are on the amp. Actually, just think about copying the amp with all the settings and all the possibilities that you can actually change and tailor to I don't know, your needs, and putting it in some like software and putting all that into this little box. And yeah, the thing is with profilers and profilers, it's a bit different because with that you should imagine something that like it's a snapshot of an amp, all right? Let's say you have an amp at home, a Fender Twin Reverb or something. You just set it to a certain setting which you like, and imagine taking a photo of it. And that's how amp profilers work. You can, I don't know, get thousands of these captures, these photographs, so to speak, and you just like, I don't know, enable it, and you will have that exact sound of that exact amp at the exact moment. But you can't change anything, or it doesn't really work like that. What you will have is what that people, or even you, because you can do your own amp captures, by the way, but it will have that moment frozen in time, so to speak, where the user set it and then captured it. While with the modelers, you can fiddle around with everything. So I started with a profiler, which was this, the Tonx Pedal, which is a very popular one. And also there is one more, which is called, I think, the Tonx 1 or something, which is much cheaper compared to this, but the functionality is almost there. I tried it out. The software interface is not for me. I think it's a bit overwhelming. I think it's a bit not too user-friendly. It's not unusable if you learn it, but it was not something that I found easy. Or not something I found that has a great interface for me. So also the captures, they were somehow never the ones I wanted. But again, this is something that's really great. I actually tried out some very great captures. So I think this is definitely worth a try. And if you're really into a certain amp, then go for it, really, because even the price is great. I don't know, it's from the top of my head, but for sure you can check it out. But yeah, I was not 100% satisfied with it, but I loved, as you can see, there's like a lot of knobs on this, like gain, bass, mid, treble, volume, I don't know, reverb, compressor. There's a built-in noise gate. So it's actually great. It also serves as a audio interface. So let's say you bring a laptop, you bring this with you, and you can just use it. Actually, you can just plug this in and plug in the guitar and use it like that. And look at it. This is like just thin, small. This is amazing. Like this fits in a bag. So I think this is a really amazing piece of gear. But I just felt like something's missing. And also one more thing, this contains amp captures, and you can get them from something called the ToneNet. But the issue is it has no effects, and that was something big. Yeah, so I just felt like this was not exactly right. I loved it, but again, my I don't know, gear acquisition syndrome came in, and I just felt, okay, it's not the right thing, missing something. It's just not good, because I was looking for an all-in-one solution, to be frank. Because I have an electric guitar and the bass, and I had an amp for the bass, but I just didn't want to overwhelm my room with another amp, because it takes space, alright? It's not that huge, but it takes space for sure. So I just wanted something that's more easy and more simple and takes up less space, because I already have a headphone, I already have some speakers. Actually, I have everything here to just use for my instruments. So I was looking around, and that's how I actually came... how I actually found this new other stuff. It's not really new, it's out for years, but it's called the HX Stomp from line 6. This one, it's actually amp modeler. It has like 300 amps, cabs, and effects or something like in it, at least according to the website. But yeah, as you see, it's a bit simpler controls wise, but for me the UI, and it also is like a small screen, for me the UI is absolutely much better. I really think that just it works better. It's more clear for me how to use it. Okay, in the first day or two it's overwhelming too, but it gets really clear. The software is also nice, so I felt it's easier to use than the Tonx for me. Again, the Tonx was not hard to use, it was a bit more like tiresome, I would say. It was clear what to do in it, but just somehow sometimes things didn't work out how you wanted it to be. Sometimes you couldn't find settings. I think it's a wonderful device, but the software is a bit not straightforward, I would say. It's not hard to navigate it, but sometimes you just feel it's not working the way you would assume. While this one, it's also complicated, but it really works the way you would assume. So for me, at least, it's a better device. But again, I'm not trying to... I think both has its purpose, and they are different. So I think both are wonderful devices, at least from what I've seen. But for me, the HX Stomp was what worked. And I'm gonna tell you why. There's a lot of amps from like very popular ones from Fender, from Angle, from... Anyhow, like there's a ton, and I don't even remember all the details. But the thing is, there are more amps in it than you will ever need, really. And it has effects also, which is crazy good. It has built-in cabs, which are really improved over the years, as I heard. So that's also perfect. And I'm gonna just say why it's so good, at least for me, and why I really feel like this is something like an end game, at least for a beginner. Okay, I think this piece of gear is something that actually stops you from having that gear acquisition syndrome, because it has everything in it, right? It has all the effects, all the amplification that you would want, and yeah, maybe it's not 100% the same, but it's very close there. And what I think at bedroom levels, both of these devices are just awesome, because it gets real low in volume with your studio monitors, with your speakers, with your headphones, and the sound still remains great. Where a tube amp usually just suffers from a low sound, and for me, these things sound better than, let's say, the Boss Katana. That's my opinion. You can disagree. Feel free to just start a discussion. This is my personal opinion on it, really. But I just found this a smaller footprint. It's something you can really take it with you. And yes, and that's why I really recommend it to you, because as a beginner, you don't need the best, okay? You don't need tube sound. You need something that works, something that has everything you will and may need in the future, at least in the following few years. All the effects, all the amplification, everything. Because yes, you will want to crave this, do that sound, do this sound, try out this effect, that effect. You just want something that's versatile. And I think this really offers everything you need to have. And lightweight and portable, doubles as an audio interface, no more heavy lifting. There's a lot of options. For example, you can use it with the studio monitors, as I said, with the headphone, which is, everyone has it around, probably a headphone. Also, you can use an FR speaker, full range fret response, which means that you can actually gig with it, which is superb. So I don't know, for me, this is something like the ebook of amps. Like, I really like the normal books, right? I love it. And the thing is that I have an ebook, and it's just so hard to not to choose it, because it's lightweight, it has everything in it. You can bring your whole library with you, and this is a bit like that. So I think it really gives a lot of versatility as a musician, and especially for beginners, I don't think you can find something better, at least the idea, right? I'm not recommending any exact products. This worked out for me, but it doesn't mean you have to get this. There's a lot of similar things, multi-effects and cheaper modelers and different models. So there's a lot of options out there for sure. And yeah, and you can research it a bit too and choose what you want. What I can really recommend is this, because this is what I have experience with. Simply, that's so simple, and it worked. So I'm really not into advertising things necessarily, unless it's a good product, and I think this is a good product, so I don't mind doing it, because I do think it will help you out on the long run. And if it's not in your price range, which I get, then just choose something similar, or even just do with the software path until you can get this, because that's also very, very, very great. And it almost does the same, especially if you have a laptop that you can bring around. But of course, you will need an audio interface for that. So when I'm saying the good thing about this, you buy just this one product and it works. You don't need anything else, really. Just, okay, have a headphone or something, a speaker. But that's, almost everyone has that lying around. There's a good chance, at least. So, yeah. And I think this way you can just, like, I don't know, stop that gear acquisition syndrome, stop researching it, stop purchasing something every month, which distracts you from your creative path. It really distracts you from doing something great. It distracts you from practicing. You just, I don't know, at least it was me, reading all over the place again for hours and days, finding the perfect something which I felt like I couldn't, something that fits my bass, my electric guitar and everything. And I don't know, it really took my time from practicing, it took my time and my mental capacity and everything, and that's just the worst thing you can have, really. So that's why I wanted to share this with you, because I feel like I dumped so much time into this, and I feel like I was so nervous, and my focus on the studies and the practice was absolutely almost zero at that point, because I just trying out this, it doesn't work well. While this has everything, right? Even noise even a noise gate and everything is in there. So while other stuff, even with softwares, you can set it, but here I just plugged it in and it worked from the get-go. I didn't have to fiddle with it. You can, but it just works and it really helps. So yeah, I think like just a general advice for all the beginners: you don't need the best gear, you don't need the best sound, you don't need tons of gear. I think the best thing you can do is just really minimize, just get something that works so you can get practicing, something in a sense simple. There's a lot of great amps, of course, out there, but I think this is a device that you can just use out of the box how it is. But as you grow, there will be tons of options for years and years, with effects, with amps, with everything. So you will not feel that you have to sell it and get something else. Of course, I know if you get to a good level, you will buy new stuff. I will buy new stuff. Everyone. That's normal, and it's your hobby, so it's not a huge issue to just get things if it makes you happy. But what I'm saying is, don't get it for the marketing hype. Don't get it for the peer pressure. Don't get it because I told you to. Just if you think this works for you, and if you agree with me that it has everything a beginner may need in the, I don't know, 10 years, I'm not joking, then maybe this is a device that's right for you, because it was for me. So yeah, check it out. Actually, I think I mentioned all the points which made me pull the trigger on this. And ever since I've been so calm. I haven't even looked at a single piece of gear ever since. It works so well for me. I just set a few amps on it with the settings I like, and I'm just using it, and that's it. And every day I just flip a switch. I don't even have to turn on the computer, no nothing, and just get on with practicing. And it really relaxes me. It really does. So I can really recommend it. And if you have any questions and maybe you want a deeper review or some description of any of these devices, let me know. But I think internet has already tons of that. So yeah, beginners get this instead of just fiddling around and having a gear acquisition syndrome and just, I don't know, trying to buy something every week and having some what's that? Yeah, so anyhow, I just don't have an excuse. That's what I was searching for like getting something instead of playing. Focus on playing, focus on practicing, and don't change your gear every day because something new comes out. So yeah, that's my advice. I would recommend to check my webpage, which I will put down in the links. I also have a podcast which I would recommend you to check out. And yeah, see you in the next video.